Evening, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Journal podcast. I'm Scott Mackay, your host, and I'm delighted to be joined by a bit of an astute panel tonight as we talk over the Old Firm game yesterday. Billy, how you doing, mate?
I'm okay, mate. It's I guess it's just over 24 hours after I've done the post-match pod yesterday, and I've got a few different views, I think, from what I said at the time, but it's kind of as you were, so I'm feeling not happy, not sad.
Aye. Dean, I was feeling a wee... How you doing, mate? I was feeling a wee bit gutted last night. With that kind of gallant view. What about yourself?
I was gutted. I was deflated. Felt exactly the same, mate. But apart from that, all is good.
Domo, how you knew that we've had 24 hours away for the madness? It was the Old Firm yesterday.
Aye, good, thanks, Scotty. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I was confident going into the game, and the way it all sort of panned out, I suppose I'm just happy that we didn't lose in the end. So, yeah, gutted we didn't get the win, but, you know, could have been worse than what we actually picked up.
Aye, that's it. Billy, I'm going to come to you first.
Sure.
I'm running off the starting lineup off the top of my head here, so correct me if I'm wrong. So we started off with Butland, Tavernier, Goldson, Suter, and Sterling at left back, with Diamonde and Lundstrom in midfield, with Tom Lawrence ahead of him, with Scott Wright on the right hand side, with Fabio Silva on the left, and Cyril Dessers up front. What was your take on the starting lineup when you seen it?
Initially, I thought there's no really any other options other than Scott Wright's the one obviously that stands out. But what is he, like third choice? But it's because the other two, Cortez is injured. Sima obviously came on later on in the game, but he wasn't fit to start. And I thought it was the right call to leave Barisic out. I was happy that Sterling was playing at left back. So no great surprises really for me on the starting lineup. But you know, we were forced to play Scott Wright.
Dean, there's a wee bit of controversy around about Scott Wright starting on the right hand side. What was your take on the lineup overall? On mute, mate.
Oops. I thought that it was quite a strong lineup, irrespective of Wright being in or not. And the rest of the players would have carried Scott Wright, because I mean he has one good game out of 100, so he's already had his good game recently, didn't he? So I wasn't expecting anything miraculous from him. I would have been more surprised if he did have a good game, put it that way. But other than that, yeah, Lawrence, I understand the reasons he picked Lawrence ahead of Cantwell. There's arguments for both. And yeah, obviously Silva, and yeah, pretty much happy with the lineup, to be fair.
Tomo, Dujon Sterling started at left back. For me, the team looked a wee bit imbalanced in the first half. I'm not saying that's due to that, but obviously the first goal comes from him sort of coming inside. And do you think that Barisic should have started?
As you say, I think we're just a little bit imbalanced. You've got Silva and Sterling out there on the left. There just didn't seem to be any sort of outlet. But on the other side of that, I think the wind played a massive part, especially in that first half, and we just couldn't get it out of our half. There was a lot of basic errors, but I think people are underestimating how much that wind really affected us in the first half, and being able to just get the ball forward. But I don't think it was a surprise that Sterling started. I think we're not going to see Barisic again unless there's a real injury crisis. He seems to have just really regressed, and any time he has played this season, just hasn't looked anywhere on it. So absolutely no issues. And then Scott Wright, as Dean says, it's one of those. He played all right first half last week against Hibs, so there's no real issues with him starting because of their injuries, but gives you a sort of performance that you've sort of come to expect from him, unfortunately.
Billy, I'm going to come to you, which about your take on the first goal. Obviously, Sterling cuts inside. Eventually, the ball gets through to Joe Hart. He plays an absolute nothing ball up. And Tavernier tries to clear it, bounces off Maeda, and as embarrassing as that's just what's happened, and we need to face the facts. My take on yesterday was there was a lot made from the Celtic side of things about we got a deflected goal for Sima for our second. Well, to me, that's just a bigger bit of fortune that Celtic got for the first goal. What's your thoughts?
I mean, it's yeah, you're right. It does come from Dejon Sterling kind of cutting in, whereas maybe Barisic would have went on his left side and up that line. But it was still, I mean, the ball was pretty much put towards the halfway line, and then, as you say, Hart kicks it up, punt upfield. For me, it's yet again Tav not been switched on to Maeda. I mean, Maeda's got his benefits, I guess. He can run around like a Duracell rabbit, I think. But Tav has played against him several times, and to be fair, I think he does in general do okay. But they seem to be doing this thing amongst the back line. They will try to calm each other down. No, don't calm each other down. It's the opening minute of the old Firm game. You want to be like raring to go, and I don't really know where that where they were getting at with that. I don't know if you noticed them doing it. I think it was Tav and Goldson just doing a kind of calm down motion, but then nobody's warning Tav that Maeda. He shouldn't need warning, to be honest with you, but nobody's warning Tav that Maeda's right on his back, and it only happens to us, that kind of goal, doesn't it? He probably makes the wrong choice and not just trying to. I don't know if playing it back to Butland was an option, but even playing it out for a corner would have been safer than what actually happened. But it was such a fluke, is the only word I can say. It's 1 in a million that happens again.
Aye, definitely.
If I can go back though, just on the team lineup though, because I did mean to say, it felt like to me that we were keeping the pace for the final, either second half in general or the final 60 minutes to really hit them with the pace of Sima and Matondo. But it obviously was the game plan goes out the window when you lose a goal in 20 odd seconds.
Aye, I would tend to agree with you on that one, mate. Dean, I'm going to come to you. The front three in the first half looked a bit disjointed. I'm going to give Cyril Dessers his plaudits. I thought the big man had a really, really good game yesterday. He was a one-man band, especially in the first half. He was trying to set a tempo. He was pressing. He was trying to get a better cut of Vickers, who had a solid game, I need to be fair. Scott Wright didn't contribute next to nothing. Fabio Silva was involved in the game, but that was more kind of second half. Do you think Clement got it right with his front three?
No. Tactically got it wrong and personnel got it wrong. Dessers, hat off to the lad. He was pressing and you seen him at times like looking around with zero support. And I actually felt quite sorry for him, because if he had support, he maybe would have had a better game as well. Mm-hmm. And there was just no support. Wright was as good as a man short. Silva's theatrics were utterly embarrassing. He was too, concerned about rolling about the ground than actually contributing to his pressing and things like that. And Tom Lawrence, just nothing was sticking. His passes, his good attributes were just null and void. So, I mean, I wouldn't have even been surprised if Clement changed it after 25, 30 minutes. That's how I actually felt at the time. And I could see that the changes were going to happen at half time. Clement's quite brutal in terms of, evidently and historically, pulling players when he needed to, and we needed to before their second goal. So yeah, Clement got it very wrong.
Tom, I want to speak to you about Tom Lawrence. I thought Tom Lawrence was basically non-existent yesterday. If I'm going to be brutally honest about the guy, he's been effective since he came back from injury. I'm happy he's in my squad. He's a good player, but yesterday he was posted missing for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows that the biggest impact he had on the game was when the foul that led to Dessers' disallowed goal. That was it. Anything else, I can't remember him doing much. He looked off the pace. He looked like he was, running through treacle at times. There was a point in the first half, ball dropped to him just on the edge of the area, set up nicely for a shot or to play it through to Dessers, who was open on the left. and he just flicked it through to Joe Hart. He was really poor. I don't know what was up with him, but again with Scott Wright, there was a time in the first half when I think Dessers robbed one of the Celtic players, and he's running through. Silva's making up the space, and Scott Wright is just back on the halfway line jogging. He's not bursting to get in there, and that was a difference in the first half. Celtic came and pressed our back line, knowing what the wind was like, knowing we'd have to try and launch it. Whereas when we were pressing, it was Dessers and 3 or 4 players just passing it around him. So I felt sorry for the big man, but if Tom Lawrence had been taken off after 20, 25 minutes, I don't think he could have had any complaints, to be brutally honest with you.
I'd need to agree, yeah. Billy, I've brought up the kind of match momentum chat. Celtic have threatened at times in the first half, but ultimately it doesn't. I don't think this is a true reflection on the game I was watching, but then when you're watching an Old Firm game, there's obviously emotion in it. You can't really make a sound judgment when you're emotional, and kind of we all know what an Old Firm game does to us. What was your thoughts just kind of overall in the first half? That it appeared to me that Celtic targeted Tav and Goldson. Goldson yet again missed a free header for a corner, and then concedes a penalty, and we go in 2-0 down. I don't want to get in too much about the refereeing decisions because we've got Gary joining us at 7 o'clock, and we'll break down the refereeing decisions then.
Based purely on the first half, I don't think Celtic were great, but we were completely wasteful when it came to the final ball. Sometimes not even the final ball, but how many times was the ball overrun or kicked out the park? Celtic, again, I'm going to call it a fluke, but it's also down to Tav as well. But a fluke of a first goal, and it happens, these handballs, these penalty decisions. But it's not like Celtic, to me, played extremely well. They were good in the press, but I didn't think they created much. I'm surprised actually they had the 2 big kind of flows in their favour towards the end, because it didn't feel like they were doing anything of any note. Just we were. It's the worst performance I've seen, and I think even under Beale, I don't think we played as bad as that in that first half.
Unmute, Scott.
I know something else bounced up on my screen. A schoolboy error still at this stage, AD. Dean, Billy's brought up a great point here. It's not seen us play this badly under even when Michael Beale was in charge in that first half. Celtic came out and pressed man for man. As soon as kick-off went, you seen it happening. Rangers couldn't deal with it. It was only kind of when we got to grips with it in the second half, and we managed to get in at half-time, we kind of managed to get some sort of foothold on the game. What were the players? You can only put so much blame on the manager for the first half. I'm going to give him a wee bit of a bye, because he can only put the players out to play and give them a clear game plan. It's whether your players go out and execute that or not. Just roughly overall, what was your take on the first half? Were you surprised?
Not at all. It's I think it's actually unfair to criticise the manager here. Previous regimes have criticised the manager when the same's actually happened. It was like Groundhog Day. Celtic's game plan was nothing new. They've done that time and time again. We just gift wrap them opportunities and they take it. They're clinical, they're fast, they're in our face. Like, you didn't need to be, Pep or Jose Mourinho or anybody to understand that that's what's happening. So it's nothing to do with the manager, it's the players. The players, like, again, what Billy had said about Tav, 100 times out of 100 against other teams, Tav's passing that ball back to Butland. But for some reason, against Maeda, who's caused them problems before, he decided against not doing it, even with Butland shouting. So it's the players that's the problem. We had our first shot on goal at 45 minutes at Ibrox at home against them. That's just not good enough. Actually, just not. That's quite embarrassing. It's not as if we're playing Real Madrid or Man City or something. It's like it's our biggest rivals at home, and 45 minutes was the first time with a shot on target. So there was no link between the midfield and the forward line, that was clear as day. So that was a massive problem. So there was also a game plan. We've seen how Clermont wants to play. We've seen the good football that we can play. So it's the players shat the bed. They were rabbits in headlights. Simple as that. Like, and I don't know how many more chances these players can get to then have the same outcome in an Old Firm game. It's beyond a joke. It really is.
Tomo, do you think when Celtic have set up to go man for kick-off, that's potentially surprised the Rangers team?
As Dean said, it shouldn't be. That's how we play. That's how we play against us every game. And Billy made a good point there. I can't remember the last time Celtic scored a goal against us that we really had to work for. We seem to just give them goals, either by poor defending, not marking properly, whatever it might be. We just seem to gift wrap them goals. And Sunday was no different. I mean, at one point in that first half, I can't remember if it was Wright or Tav passed the ball into Diomande 5 yards away, and they played it behind him. And then another time, Tav's got the ball, just looking around to do whatever he wants. Maeda's nipped in and taken it off him. And at one point, I said to someone, I sat with that, are they doing this on purpose? You know what I mean? Are they? This is basic stuff, and the players just. We're not passing it 5 yards. We can't make a 5 yard pass, and it's like, what is going on here? It was I wouldn't even go as far to say we played like amateurs at times. It was lower than that, and I just think that first half it really was poor, and it can't be put on the manager. Manager puts the players out there, and anyone who's picked to play for Rangers against Celtic should be up to doing the job. And like I say, at times, even the basics was just embarrassing. And we were lucky going in at half-time 2-0 down, to be brutally honest.
Barry, what happened to the midfield yesterday?
I don't know.
I've watched it back, and Celtic just seemed to play right through to him. Lundstrom was marking areas instead of... Well, that's a kind of open-ended point in itself, whether he should be doing that or not, but... The chemistry's not right between the pair of them, is it?
There was something up. I thought Diamandi's that was his poorest game. I listened to another pod who seemed to, one of the podders, think that he was the man of the match, but I don't know what he was saying, because everything was, he was too light, not strong enough in the tackles. The passing was awful, and they were passed through, both of them. For all this talk of Lundstrom's the only one we should give a new contract to, yesterday might have been a
wee reminder.
A wee reminder to the manager that we need better than this, actually. And Diamandi's learning, so I've got hope for him. I mean, he's promising, and he's shown glimpses of being a really good central midfielder. But whether it was the occasion got to him, there's better players than him have let the occasion get to them. But they still went on and had a good Rangers career, especially in the Old Firm matches. But Diamandi for me was poor, and I don't think I remember Lundstrom touching the ball in the first half or making an important tackle.
I know. I would need to agree there. Dean, we come out second half. There's a bit of a reaction. We get the penalty. Tav buries it. That to me kind of made up for the howler for the first goal. Next minute, you've got another decision which will break down when Gary comes on. But eventually, we managed to go 2 each up. Were you happy with the... What difference did Sima had when he came on?
Everything that Scott Wright doesn't have, and everything that the first half didn't have. He was getting the ball direct, take players on. He's physical. He's involved. That's the difference. You can just his presence in that side that's brilliant. You can tell there's a presence from him, and the players, it's almost like they actually play better when he's on the pitch. You could see that as well. So and there's an out ball as well. So that was how I felt. Sima changed things when he came on, and it wasn't really surprised that he did end up having a big impact on the end result.
Tomo, what was your thoughts on Abdallah Sima's impact? Because he's now played all three positions. He came on kind of with a wee bit of time left last weekend and played through middle. Played on the right, which was rumoured to be his position when he signed initially. Do you think that's something we can see going forward for Sima?
Yeah, most definitely. I think he's comfortable out both wings and through the middle. And as Dean said, he just came on. You could tell he's not 100% fit, but he was making those runs. He was getting out wide, cutting in, giving the midfield an option, whereas Scott Wright in the first half just wasn't. He was pretty much, I don't want to say he was hiding, but he just wasn't wanting the ball. I think he took an early kick off of Scales, and he didn't want to know after that. And Sima, which just came on, ran at them. You know, he's got that pace which any defender's scared of, and he just wanted the ball and he wanted to do something. And it was a massive improvement. I'd say he's only about half 70% fit, so hopefully he can get some more minutes during the week and get back in the starting lineup for remaining games.
Billy, this is the average position chart. The slide on the left shows how we were before the substitutions. Still think we're quite good area-wise, where everybody's kind of averagely positioned. Then on the right-hand side is the average position chart after the substitutions have come on, and you can see Rangers have went a bit more attacking for it, isn't there? There's more people up next to Cyril Dessers.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, there's more width there as well. It was noticeable how often Sima was getting that space down the right-hand side. Whether it was his pace or what, I don't know if they just weren't expecting him to come on that early, so hadn't really made any changes tactically therein. But he was getting, I mean, how many times was it? 4 or 5 times he was running down that side. Look, there's no beating about the bush. He would have started if he was fit enough. Scott Wright is not who we want to be relying on, and it's just annoying that once again we don't face them with our strongest team. And there's maybe an argument to say that Matondo maybe wouldn't have started. He's been quite good as an impact sub, but he's turned it around for me for his first season. But he's in the probably needs to play more games or start more games than not. But I mean, it's just more noticeable that the width really in the second half on both sides.
Dean, I want to come to you on Fabio Silva. Getting away for his diving about noise antics yesterday. What did you make his performance?
Nothing, to be honest with you. I mean, with the passes, like even getting a 5, 6 out of 10 in terms out with these theatrics. He won the penalty, but you expect any player of any level, what I mean is to be within that penalty. But other than that, it didn't really have much of a contribution for me. That's what I'm saying. So after the half an hour, if we had the players in the, I wouldn't have been surprised him getting subbed after half an hour. So yeah, I was non-existent pretty much for me, and it's crazy how things turn. Echoing just what Billy said there, Matondo, he's definitely got to be in the frame for starting on Wednesday, because Silva had his wee sort of purple patch, and he just doesn't seem to be having as much fluidity as he had as well. So yeah, aye. Not much more to say, pal.
I'm going to disagree with you, because I think towards the end of the first half and kind of the first 15 minutes of the second half, he's managed to get us back into the game. Now we can make out about his diving antics all we want, and we can say that it wasn't his best game, it wasn't, but he managed to drag us back in by getting us that penalty. Tomo, what's your take on it?
Yeah, no, I mean, he was end of the first half. I mean, first half he was pretty anonymous, But end of the first half, he was only stopped a goal by a quality save from Joe Hart. Jack Butland makes that save. We're all raving about it, And then second half, he was certainly getting a lot more of the ball, and he's got the penalty. It is a penalty, but I just want to go back to there seems to be this narrative coming out that he was diving all over the place. And don't get me wrong, some of his theatrics and whatnot when he was going down and that wasn't the best, and he needs to sort of man up a little bit. But at no point did he dive. He was caught on all the occasions, and he was brought down. So at no point was he diving anywhere. He wasn't trying to cheat anyone. As I say, he might just have been a bit over the top on some of his theatrics. But in that first half, we could have subbed anyone off, to be brutally honest with you. I would say maybe Butland and Dessers get pass marks, but the other 9 could have been subbed off, and it wouldn't have surprised me. But there's still a player there. You could see that when he got the ball, Celtic was scared of him. They were doubling up on him. And what Celtic done in the first half that we don't do is they all take it in turns, just give away petty fouls. We bring people down, we kick them, whereas we go into tackles and what have you, a bit half-hearted. And it's, again, sometimes we're just a little bit soft, whereas they call it maybe the dark arts of the game, and Celtic do it and get away with it. And, but he came onto a bit more of a game in the second half, definitely.
No, that's a fair point. Billy, I'm going to come to you on Paul's question. I think there's been a wee bit of chat in our group chat kind of the last couple of days about Connor Goldson. I was saying that I think he's maybe regressed from the January transfer window. Do you think that's something we need to look to address in the summer?
Definitely. I was going to say he's regressed this season dramatically. I know he had a bit of time out injured last season. I don't know if that's affected him in the long run. A replacement might, or sell, we might struggle, because when he was on a free, nobody wanted him, and we gave him another contract. So I don't think we're getting much for him. He's probably on a big wage, but we can hopefully get 2 other players in that puts him down the pecking order a bit. It feels like to me he probably knows he's undroppable. At least he's only had that experience of never been dropped. So he's coming at it from a position where he probably feels he has a bad game. It doesn't really bother him that much, but it's bothering me now. And he's not doing. He was in a great position to score that header. That for me it needs to be at least getting on target to give Hart something to save. That's been a common theme for him, not scoring these free headers that he's getting. There was one at Kilmarnock a couple of weeks back as well, where he probably could have or should have scored. For me, that's a big area of the part. To be honest with you, I wouldn't have him playing again on Wednesday night if the game goes ahead, just to kind of show him like you are droppable, because these performances, especially this season, haven't been good enough.
Dean, there's another comment in that Goldson's apparently on 35k plus a week. What's your take on it? Do you think he's still got a big role to have in the running? Do you back him or do you sell?
Yeah, I think he's overstayed his welcome. Every player's got a shelf life at clubs, and that's just the reality of it. And his reality is that he's overstayed his welcome for me. And I really, really want a replacement in that can actually head a ball. I don't know what's happened to centre halves losing the ability to head balls, but we seem to have them in abundance. Centre halves are the tallest players on the pitch for a reason, because they cross balls to head them. I think that's pretty basic. And yeah, he just doesn't seem particularly good at heading the ball. So ball playing defenders are all fine and fair and well that can ping 60-yard passes and blah blah blah. But I'm a wee bit old school. So yeah, time's up for me. Refresh in the summer.
Tomo, what about you?
Yeah, no, I've always been a big defender of Goldson. I've said he's our best centre back, and until we get someone who is better than him, he will play. But he is worrying the regression in him. He almost seems at times scared to header the ball. I made a comment during the game that he was Celtic's best player in that first half. He missed a free header from 5 yards out, gives away a penalty, and then splits John Souttar's head open. You know, he's then in the second half there was another incident where he just needs to clear the ball and he gets robbed by that Ida, and thankfully he got a bit greedy and tried to go himself. Whereas if he squares it, we go even further behind. But when he goes to head of the ball, his eyes is closed. You see his eyes are closed, and I don't know what's happened to him. But yeah, as Dean says, everyone has a shelf life, and I think his unfortunately is up, and we need to look for better in the summer.
All right, cool. We'll move on to our wee final whistle segment. And Gary, how are you doing? All right?
Yeah, good guys. How are you?
Aye, not bad at all, mate. Thank you for coming on.
No
I don't think there's much to break down for yesterday, is there?
Not to keep you up all night, so I kind of tried to summarise it into sort of 4 key points, because you could analyse everything as everyone went on yesterday. So the ones I sort of wanted to focus on were Celtic's penalty, our penalty, and the disallowed goal, and the Maeda foul count. I thought those were the ones gaining the most traction, looking at Twitter afterwards, if he's agree or if there's anything I've missed.
Is there anything anybody wants to add in?
The only sort of thing that I would add in is the Carter Vickers one very early on, when he stopped the free kick being taken, and then he's kicked the ball away, and it's
I remember.
I heard a discussion. It might have been on that Ref Watch. I can't remember, but they were talking about referees talking before a game, and depending on the sort of the magnitude of the game, try to keep their cards in their pocket early on. But at the same time, you've still got the laws of the game to follow. So yeah. I thought that was a bit of an interesting one, whether it's the first minute or the last minute.
I know what you're saying. I fully agree, and I think there was Liam Scales had one just before it as well, where he's gave the ball away, or someone shut him down, and then he's pulled him back to give away the free kick. Now I think in a normal game that would probably be a yellow card as well as the Carter Vickers one. But in these types of games, I know the mentality going into them that you don't want to be issuing cards left, right, and centre early doors, because then there's nothing to escalate the discipline to, if that makes sense. So he's obviously trying to keep a bit of a lid on the early doors and not end up with 3 and 4 red cards. You see it all the time in Old Firm games. It does go against the laws of the game, but I do think there's a little bit of common sense involved, because if you applied the rules as strict as they are in the laws, you would end up with half the teams off or on yellow cards. You know what I mean? That would get a bit ridiculous. So yeah, I get why it can be frustrating, but I do think we're quite consistent in that across the board in all the Old Firm games.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so Gary, was Connor Goldson's handball a penalty?
Yeah, I think it was. The ball is coming in. You see it, I think it's Maeda at the near post, gets a flick on it, and it deviates the path of it. He's up in the air already. He's trying to adjust his body, and he just can't do it quick enough. And instinctively, he's kind of put his elbow a little bit towards the ball. I think it's a penalty. So it's harsh because there's no intention there, and I don't think it's actually deviated the ball all that much. It's actually put it into Scales' path quite perfect, so it's actually benefited Celtic in some sense. But again, as the rules are currently with the handball, it's a penalty for me, yeah.
Okay, doke. We'll go on to the Rangers penalty now.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not given initially. He's booked for a dive. The way it looks to me when it went to VAR, I think personally it's the correct call, regardless of whether Johnson's touched the ball or not. The deflection is still... Silva's still got a good run at where he's going to put the ball. He's still got a chance at creating an opportunity. Is that a penalty for you?
Yeah, 100%. And I can't understand some of the pundits coming away saying, obviously you expect Chris Sutton to do that kind of thing, and it'd be Boyd if it was the opposite way around. But I can't understand why people think it's not a penalty. So there's 2 parts to it. The initial one where Johnson gets a little graze on the ball. So like you say, Scott, taking that to its logical conclusion, it means if you get the slightest touch on the ball, you can just wipe somebody out, even if they're still going to run onto the ball. So for me, if it was just that tackle alone, it would still be a penalty. But if you watch it in slow motion, and there's a couple of angles I think Sportsman showed, where Johnson actually has a second flick with his leg, and it connects with Silva on the knee. So again, it's 100% penalty for me. The only thing is a bit of Jabati. I think it could have been a second caution potentially for Alistair Johnston. Not because the tackle on its own, because in the box everything's downgraded 1 degree. Like if it was a red card for denying a goal scoring opportunity, it'd be a yellow. And the same goes for a yellow card tackle, it's downgraded to nothing. But I think he'd had about 2 or 3 fouls before that, after being booked. And that could have been for persistent foul. And I think he was very, very lucky that there was a bit of controversy around the VAR call and everything like that kind of he's went under the radar a bit for the second yellow there.
You actually, sorry to interrupt, Gary, but you actually saw his face. The camera went on his face when it got overturned, and he was shiting himself because he actually looked, he thought he was going to get a second yellow.
Aye, I think I've not seen that replay where it goes to his face or anything, mate. But yeah, watching it, I thought if this gets overturned, he's off the park. So I think all the kind of controversy around it and all the hysteria around John Beaton and getting hounded, I think he's kind of went under the radar a wee bit and he's not wanted to elevate it any worse. It's a 50-50 call. He doesn't have to do it purely based on the tackle. And I think he's erred on the side of caution with that one, but I think Johnson's quite lucky.
Gary, what was your take on Tom Lawrence on Tomoki Iwata's foul? Obviously, that leads to a goal for Rangers that's then taken back and disallowed. Certain angles have showed you that Lawrence got a touch of the ball, but it takes a man out for me. What's your take on it?
Again, I think it's similar to the Johnson one we were just chatting about, where if you get the ball but still wipe out the guy when he can run onto the ball and still retain possession, I think it's still a foul. I do think it's a foul that's been missed. But the big sort of subjective call on this from John Beaton, or I think it was Nick Walsh in VAR, was, is it still in the same attacking phase of play to take it back and review it? So the guideline doesn't necessarily have to go back to when the team gained possession. It's just the immediate phase of play. So the sort of considerations are the defence's ability to recover. Was that impacted? Did they have a sufficient chance to recover? And the momentum of the attack. So with the momentum of the attack, I think it's pretty much going attack almost directly from that straight into the box. Almost the Silva lays off, I think, Sima, who then puts it in the middle, comes back and he puts it back in again and it falls to Dessers. The one I would say kind of the mitigation in that where it could have been allowed was the defence's ability to recover. If you watch the Celtic midfield all stop, they sort of stopped and waited for the whistle. They had a chance to get that ball back in midfield. And then also once Sima first cross is blocked, I think they've got ability to get rid of that ball. So again, it's highly subjective. You couldn't say a definitive yes or no it should be allowed. But again, I can see the frustration of Rangers fans and I can see why Celtic fans would want it disallowed. But for me, the big controversy in Scotland's always consistency. So you're guaranteed next week or the week after there'll be some game where the exact same situation happens and it doesn't go back and get reviewed. And I think that's where the frustration comes in from fans.
Have you got anything else you kind of want to clear up from the game?
Just Daizen Maeda, I thought he was very lucky to stay in the park towards the end of the match. Okay. So he'd already had numerous fouls and then eventually got the yellow card for delaying the restart of play when he stood in front of the free kick. I think it was Tavernier taking it and he just kicked it off him and he gave Beaton no choice but to book him. But I think he'd had maybe 3 or 4 by that point, and then after that he had another 2 or 3. And one of them was an attacking position on the Rangers right wing. So again, I think he could have had a second yellow in that game quite easily and no one could have complained. But probably harping back to what I said at the start, John Beaton's not like to give out soft yellows in these type of games. And if he's going to send someone off, he's wanting it to be for a cruncher rather than something like loads of niggly fouls.
Aye. All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on, helping us break everything down.
Is there anything else, you guys?
Can I ask one thing, Gary, while you're on? Right, so the Lawrence foul on it, do you think was almost an element of re-refereeing games? I mean, the incident with Lawrence, Beaton stood 3 yards away from it and could not have had a better view, even with the angles on the television. And he's looked at that and gone, that's fine, that's not an issue, and played on. Mm-hmm. And then basically what I'm asking is do you think VAR is being used in the right way, or is it just referees? Do you think maybe Beaton has said something going, I think I might have missed something there, can you have a look? I don't know if that's how VAR might work, but do you think that could be an element to it, or a bit of re-refereeing of the game?
Potentially. I don't think in that area of the park, John Beaton would be immediately concerned if he'd missed something. Because, I mean, let's be honest, you're never going to get every free kick in a game. You're going to miss stuff. And if it's in the middle of the park, you generally don't really think about it too much because it takes a lot for a goal to be scored from that area. In terms of re-refereeing it, I do agree. And it's because of the position in the park, I think it was about 15 yards outside Rangers' box when it occurred. I think the thing that's worked against Rangers here is just the fact that Fabio Silva's picked the ball up and more or less ran directly to the edge of the Celtic box from it. If it'd been a bit more sideways passing in the build-up, I don't think it would have got looked at. So I think that's why it's just went direct. It's kind of worked against Rangers a little bit. But I do agree in terms of it is like re-refereeing, and then the question comes, well, how far back do you go? If a throw-in had been given the wrong way just before that, would that, you know what I mean? It's one of those ones, and I don't think they've got the balance right just now.
No, thank you.
Personally, from my point of view, I don't know if you guys watch a lot of the American football or American sports, or even the challenge system. I think would be a lot better, especially in Scottish football, where everything's a conspiracy.
Yeah,
Put the onus on the teams to challenge stuff themselves. If they don't, then it's their fault. If they do challenge it and it's wrong, it's their players' fault for like deceiving their own manager, basically.
Right, well, Gary, that's magic. Thank you for coming on again.
No problem, guys. See you soon. Enjoy the rest of the pod.
Thanks,
Right.
Gary.
Cheers, guys.
Take care, mate. Right, Billy, I'll come to you first. Who's your take?
Do you want me to pick a incident or just on the whole thing that Gary said, mate?
Just pick an instant. We'll break it down.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Silva penalty. I'm glad that a referee was able to clear up that you can't just get a slight graze on the ball and all of a sudden that gives you free rein to do whatever you want. The fact that Silva gets booked right away, showing that his behaviour earlier on in the game has came to Beaton's attention at least, because he's went for that. And obviously you can't see it for his eyes. You don't know what he thinks he sees, but the replays from several angles show that there's contact. And again, why go down if he had a free shot goal after that? Well, it's subjective as well, I guess. But I know that Sky are a private. Had a free shot goal after that. Well, it's subjective. You hearing feedback there? Is that me?
No, it's my phone.
Sorry, mate. Do you have? They're a private company, so they can have anybody they want on, but to have someone like Sutton who's so one-sided. I mean, I don't know if he used the word cheat, but he basically said during the game that Silva was a cheater and a diver, which is rich coming from him. But that's disappointing that players are allowed to be labelled like that when clearly the evidence shows that there was contact on him and it prevents a goal scoring opportunity. It's a penalty. Are we ever allowed to get a penalty that's free from controversy? It's like anytime we get one, we've had the same amount of Celtic, but none of theirs are controversial and all of ours are. And I'm really just sick of it, having to defend it every single week. Not only has that been a VAR team, which is 2 referees, have recommended the referee look at it again. Beaton's went and looked at it again. I've seen on Sky that their ref watch, it's a penalty all day long. And I've seen another couple of referees on Twitter as well saying, yeah, it's a clear penalty. Why are we having to defend this every single week against the narrative that we're getting these penalties that shouldn't be given? It was a penalty. I don't know if you can say soft or not soft. There's contact, and it's for me. It's just I'm just sick of it, to be honest with you, mate. Just to have to defend it again.
Dean, is that cleared anything up for you?
Aye, it has cleared things up for me. Yeah, I didn't have any thoughts that the penalty for us wasn't a penalty after the replays. And I mean, you touched on there, Billy, about soft penalties. Well, it doesn't matter if the defending player snaps somebody's shin in half, or just puts the leg out like Johnston did, it's a foul. It doesn't matter the hurt on the attacking player. So yeah, Gary's so glad that we have him to be able to guide us in the right way and educate us as well, because let's be honest, it's educating us to the point where we don't really understand some things, and he's helping us understand them, and obviously everybody watching and listening. So yeah, it's very, very good having him able to do that. But as Billy said about, it's just getting having to actually fight our corner week in, week out. It's pathetic. And the question is that Billy asked, why is it if every single, why is there such levels of scrutiny? In my opinion, the truth is because it's Rangers. Simple. And that's why, fans of these other teams hate us more than they love their own clubs. So when it's anything Rangers and it's all these pundits and fans and tweets and all the rest of it, it's just that's just the nature of the beast, Billy. But yeah, I'm glad that we do have Gary, as I said.
Just to clear it up for everybody in the comments, I think there's a wee bit of confusion. Gary's an official licensed SFA referee who's coming on board to do a segment every Monday or whenever he can, just to clear up some of the decisions on any matches for us. Tomo, you get any final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think all the decisions were correct, to be brutally honest. I think it was a handball by Goldson. I said at the time, before we even got up the park, I thought Lawrence had fouled the Celtic player. I was surprised the ref didn't give a free kick. The penalty for us is a stonewaller. It's any other team gets that penalty. There's no controversy. There's nothing, and it's the way football seems to be these days. People just looking to build up controversy for.
Tomo's the fact that Silva can still run onto the ball to either to have an influence on play, and he's been kicked in the eye. It's a penalty.
There was one given to Arsenal on Saturday night, which is pretty much exactly the same. I can't remember what Arsenal player it was, but he's gone by the Brighton right back. He's got a slight touch on the ball, but as he has done, he's come through and just wiped the Arsenal player out. It was a penalty. No controversy about it, nothing. But Silva, he's past Johnson. He's either getting a shot away or he's crossing it into the middle. And Johnson puts his foot up and catches him knee thigh area, and it's a penalty. There is no controversy about it, but unfortunately, there's pundits in the media who are allowed to just say whatever they want without ever being challenged on it, and it's a shame. It really is, because now Silva will start getting a reputation, and as I think Billy said earlier, or Dean, because of some of his antics in the first half, that might have stuck in Beaton's head, and that's why he booked him initially, rather than giving the penalty. And it's a shame. It really is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the upcoming games when Silva is fouled, and see what happens. But no, I think all the decisions were right. The only little bit was that what phase of play was it in, for Desperate goal, but could have gone either way, and not going to complain too much about it.
I think for me, there was a level of consistency here, because obviously Johnson does win the ball whatever penalty in the beginning, and I think you can clearly see that Lawrence wins the ball for our disallowed goal, and the foul's still given because he takes the player out. So I think a wee bit of praise needs to be given to John Beaton there for being able to implement that level of consistency and apply the laws as they were, but have announced a common sense about it as well.
Scotty, can I just set you back first? Like, why is it with their fans and their pundits that they immediately go to blame a Rangers player for something? Alistair Johnson's been lucky this season that he's not been either sent off or had penalties given against him, but nobody's given him a hard time. If we had a player consistently just getting let off the hook, we'd be on that player's back. But it's immediately a Rangers player's fault that the penalty is given and not their player who makes a clumsy attack or a clumsy attempt to get in the ball and brings up player down?
Because Billy, it's that victim mentality, isn't it? They're always wrong. They're always wrong. They've never actually lost a game. Do you know what I mean? They've never lost a game in their history. So I wouldn't try and get into their mindset, mate. It's won't do you any good.
Always cheated, never defeated.
That's what I was trying to say there, Scotty. Aye, that's it.
Right,
That's
so
it.
let's finish the game off, boys. So Adamida scores. You could throw a wee bit of criticism at Butland for it. It doesn't get done quick enough, or it does. Matondo gets us a point with an absolute worldie. Billy, does Matondo start for you on Wednesday night? Do you think him coming off the bench should be the same, or do you think he's influenced as a sub appearance enough that he should get a chance?
The impact he's had the last two games in both goals. I think this week's one was just slightly better than the one against Hibs, but they're both fantastic, and I believe he's been working on it. That's the thing. If you come on and you do this, you kind of cement your position as an impact sub, don't you? But on these performances, he does deserve to start and see what he can do from the start. Because if he can finish like that, he can do that in the first minute. He can do that in the 90th minute. It doesn't matter when he's playing. And you've seen. I don't know if you were feeling this at the time, but you seen when he cut in like that, you're like, he's going to do that again. Before he even hit it, I felt it was going in, and then you see the back of the neck rippling. But to be honest,
I don't know about you, but it looks to me as if he's developed a low centre of gravity all of a sudden. The ball just sticks to his feet. He can shift it, and he's got a Thierry on refinish all of a sudden. I don't know where it's came from.
Well, as I say, that he said that he's been working on it with Clement as well, but he's wanting to go for the bottom corner, which he's not. He's been kind of more towards the top. But I think he deserves a start. You can only just kind of go by how he plays. If he does get a start, if he gets a run in the team playing, and with him and Sima on each wing, I think we'll score a lot of goals.
Tom, I'll come to you on Matondo. What's your thoughts? Do you give him a start or do you?
To be honest with you, when we played Dundee on Wednesday, looking at the state of their pitch the other day, I'd be calling up some scuba squad to be playing. Never mind football players, the state of their pitch. But yeah, I mean, I'm a bit torn on Matondo. He seems to be better later on in games when the space has opened up a little bit, rather than starting and having to, I don't want to say use skill, but have to use a bit of imagination to get through the defence. But the last couple of games that he's came on, he's done well and he's caused the opposition problems. So yeah, I think he certainly does deserve a start, and if he does start, there'll be no complaints from me. And just going back to that Ida goal, I think he might have just been caught out a little bit, because, to be fair to the guy, he takes it pretty early, and it's close to Jack Butland's body. So again, not going to criticise him too much, but I think that the finish from Matondo was just immense, and there's a good camera angle from behind him, where as soon as it leaves his foot, you can see that it's going in. And going back to Billy's point about Johnston. He actually sort of turns his back and ducks out of the way of it. If he'd been a little bit braver, he takes it full in the face. But
maybe make an improvement.
Well, that's it. I've seen someone comment somewhere that the ball was scared of his coupon, so missed him out. But it was some finishing. If he starts on Wednesday, then got absolutely no problem with that.
Dean, what changes do you want to see for Wednesday night? Say Ridvan's fit. What do you want to happen?
If Ridvan's fit, I'd be putting him left back. I'd be putting Sterling left back. I'd be putting Balogun in next to Suter. I'd be starting. I want Matondo to start in the left. You've got to strike when the iron's hot. His confidence will not have ever been higher at Rangers than it is right now. So you've got to start him. And if it just so happens that he doesn't have a good 60 minutes, then so be it. But you've got to play him. Simple as that. And you've got to put Catmull in the 10. and start Sima on the right. Centre of the midfield, depending on what other options that we do have, I want to see some freshness in there. Either Dio having a rest, if that's possible, or Lenny having a rest. But one of them that just maybe needs a wee rest, I think, because there was just no really sort of link between them as well. There seemed to be, singing from a different hymn sheet as well. So and you kind of need them to be in unison. So, that's what I would like to happen.
Fair enough. I want to see Cantwell coming back in, Sterling getting back into Midley Park. I think we badly need some control in centre mid. We need to hit a quick vein of form just now. But form since the international break's been a wee bit patchy. Different results are included in that with Europe and stuff, fine. But still, we need to get a couple of wins under the belt. We've got Ross County and Dundee now. We've got a great chance to do that, so we can get in top of the league for a split. Right, we'll just give in quick predictions for Wednesday night. Thank you, listeners, and say your goodbyes, gentlemen. Billy, I'll come to you first.
If the game goes ahead, mate, and I'm not far from Dundee, and it's been pretty wet when we've flooded all round here, so I don't imagine it's much better up there. I think a comfortable win if it goes ahead, but there is talk of it getting moved to different stadiums. I hope they come out early and let the fans know, so everybody's got time to so we're not outside the stadium again, finding out that it's off. So hopefully we hear something tomorrow. I think I only foresee a comfortable win because I think you're probably going to get your Sima starting and Matondo starting, and that can only be a good thing for that pace. I don't have a particular. I see 2-0 being mentioned there. I wouldn't be surprised if it was even more, because I think we probably take more confidence from that result of the weekend than Celtic do. So hopefully we continue going that run that you were talking about. But no, thank you everybody for listening. I apologise to Curry because he comments on things I've said, but it's another 5 minutes before it comes back round to me again, so I never get to acknowledge what he was saying. So, but I did see all your comments there, mate. Thank you very much, and thank you for everyone else that was listening.
Tom, over to you.
Yeah, I think, Rangers never seem to do things easy, so probably end up being a really tough game, but we scrape. I think it'll be 3-0. Hopefully, Ridvan's fit, see Sterling back in midfield and give us some legs in there, some athleticism. Sima hopefully starting, Matondo maybe. Basically, we've got options, and I think 3-0 is my prediction. Just want to say thanks again for having me on, and thanks again to everyone for listening, watching, and contributing in the comments. It's really good to see. So thank you, and up the Rangers.
Dean.
I fancy us to win 3-0. I think we'll come at the park, come at the traps quickly. And if we start seeing Matondo there, I think they'll have a big say in the outcome of the match. So I'm expecting us to pump them. And so thank you very much for everybody tuning in, watching, listening, sharing, subscribing, please. And thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure and privilege as always, boys.
No, thanks to all you boys for coming on. It's appreciated. Everybody, please go ahead and smash the like and subscribe button for this channel. We're always going to be trying to grow it. And we really want to get 1,000 subs. That opens up more avenues for us as a podcast. Tune in on Friday at 7:30. We will be breaking down the Dundee result. Always remember, we are the people.